Welcome back to another episode. My name is Ryan McMillan, a real estate agent here in Vancouver, powered by eXp Realty. Today, we're going to continue our first time home buyer series, and specifically, we're going to break it down to additional costs and closing costs when you get into that first home. So, it's going to really give you guys an idea of what to expect on top of that mortgage payment that you have budgeted for and really focused on, right? That's sort of the main thing we all look at. We look at obviously what we can afford, price of our home, and then the term is on our mortgage and what our monthly mortgage payment is gonna be. But we all know that there are other factors and costs that come into play every single month. And then we're also going to talk about those closing costs that you will face when purchasing your home as well. So we're going to get into all that on the other side. But guys, make sure if you've been watching this channel and you like what you're watching on the channel, please go down, subscribe to the channel, share the videos, like the videos. All that really helps out the channel. So with all that said, guys, on the other side, we're going to break it all down next. Okay, so you guys found your first home. That's awesome. It's so exciting to be a first-time home buyer. I love working with first-time home buyers because of the excitement. It's amazing taking that next step and now becoming a homeowner. But there's also additional costs that come with it. Probably most of you have been either, you've either lived at home and now you're making that move, or you've been renting for quite some time. And really, a lot of your costs have been, your monthly rent. Maybe you're taking care of some of the utilities, internet services, but very, very basic things. Some have renters insurance. I know now more landlords are requiring it, but it's really basic stuff that you've been, having to deal with month over month. But now being a homeowner, here's some additional costs, and it's awesome. You're building equity, you're owning a home. It's a great feeling. But let's break it down. So first, there's the property taxes. Now, this is going to vary. Obviously, the cost of whatever the value of your home is going to determine the property taxes you pay. Now, it depends on the municipal tax rate in your area, and then the math is assessed from there. Now, it can range anywhere from a couple of thousand to, you can get up to thousands upon thousands, depending again what the rate is, what the assessment is. This is something you're going to have to look for. A lot of times it's annually, biannually. A lot of people work it into their monthly mortgage payment. So there's options for that. But look out, that's one additional cost. That's going to be your probably one of your bigger costs. I would say your biggest additional cost to the mortgage. The next is home insurance. Now, most lenders or all lenders are going to require home insurance, but it's recommended anyways. I mean, to own a home without insurance, it's just, absolutely not recommended. And, it's going to cover fire, theft, flooding, and then there's additional add-ons as well that, you want to just have someone walk you through it. A good insurance broker will walk you through all the other options that is available to you that you want to make sure that at least those are presented to you when you're making those decisions. So home insurance is number two. Mortgage insurance is something else, is an additional cost if you're coming in with less than 20%. And again, it varies depending on your down payment. So that's something that, again, guys, I know, coming up with 20% is very, very tough, especially with home prices today. But, if you come in with the 20%, A, you avoid the CMHC insurance. B, obviously your monthly mortgage payment will be less, and it'll be easier for you to handle those monthly payments moving forward. So, two very good reasons right there to come in at a minimum of 20% if you can swing it. So let's jump into number four. That's going to be your utilities. Now, I mentioned off the hop that, if you're a renter, maybe some of these things have been included in the past. As a homeowner, you're responsible. So you're talking about your electricity, your heating, your gas. So all these can be, roughly 200 to four or 500 a month depending on. So it can add up. So make sure you budget that in as well. Number five, guys. Now we're in an attached situation, a condo, a townhouse. We're looking at maintenance fees, condo fees, and those can also add up, and they've increasingly gone up in price. Like a lot of things, right? So those are always determined at your annual general meeting, based on the budget of the building and whatnot. Then a lot of times you'll see an increase or a vote to increase these maintenance fees as you go forward. So, even when you do buy a home, what those maintenance fees are, condo fees are at time of purchase, always remember that these aren't set in stone. These can definitely go up in price. A lot of times people get into the pre-sales and they'll see the maintenance fee there, and they're always marketed very, very low. And again, that will not last. So prepare for that, budget for that. A lot of times they can include certain things with the maintenance fees, but it's going to cover all your landscape and it's going to cover everything within the budget that the common area needs to be taken care of. And some of those condo fees, portion of that goes into a contingency fund. So hopefully you have a healthy strata, a very good, healthy management company that knows how to delegate these funds, knows what the future could hold, and delegate the costs accurately. So a lot of times you'll come into a building and you'll see a low condo fee. Sometimes that can be a red flag, and not all the time. If you look at the history of the building and you look at the minutes, it could be very healthy and they're just running it very efficiently. But a lot of times, don't always go for the lowest fee out there because a lot of times, sometimes that can create a red flag. And maintenance fees do scare people off. They'll say, "What are the maintenance fees? What are the maintenance fees? What are the maintenance fees?" And right off the hop, it's like, "Oh my goodness, that's very high." Well, you have to look into it. What are the reasons why it's being high? Maybe have a very healthy contingency fund. So, when that major expense comes into play, like a new roof, they're not coming to you for a special levy and saying, okay, now everybody owes $15,000 or $10,000 now at the end of the year here because we have to pay for a new roof. Okay, let's switch over to closing costs now, guys. This is something that you're gonna have to take care of, when the home is being purchased. And just before as well. So you're going to look at things like inspection, property transfer tax, legal fees, title. So we'll break these down right now. So let's start with the bigger one, the property transfer tax. That's going to be a sum of money based on the value of the property. And then it's broken down into percentage. So like within the first couple 100,000, it's a percent and it moves up from there, 200,000 to 2 mil, 2%. So you add those up. You do the math on that. Property transfer tax, guys. Legal fees, that's with all the paperwork when everything gets submitted, and either you use a lawyer or a notary. So you're paying for their services, and you're looking anywhere from I would say 1,000 to 2,000, maybe 2,500. Depending on notaries are normally a little cheaper. A lot of people will go with a lawyer for certain other reasons, but it's something that's kind of your decision. You can look into that, or we can walk you through the options with that as well. So then you're looking at a home inspection, something I always recommend. I doesn't matter what the property is, always worth spending the $300 to $500 or $600 on a home inspector. They're going to give you a detailed report about the property, whether it's a new property or a 100-year-old house. It doesn't matter. They're going to walk you through, and they're really there to just kind of give you a checklist of, maybe something major wrong or something that, hey, maybe this is something you might have to look at. Here's the age of the roof. Here's the age of the furnace. Here's what the foundation's looking like. Here, they're going to really give you a kind of an overall assessment. And then you take that away. You and your agent look at that and say, okay, here's the pros, here's the cons. But it gives you A, peace of mind, and B, it really gives you an idea of, okay, what are some things to expect, or what are some major things here that, look, let's just walk away from this and move on. But again, if you're serious about the home, if you're like, we want to pull the trigger on this house, $500 is really a drop in the bucket. Even if you have to walk away from the property, it's better to know before you get into something, because you just figured, hey, let's say $500. The house looks fine. I walk through it. It's just a condo. It's no big deal. Never say that. Home inspection all the way. So you're looking at about $500, $600 ballpark there. You're looking at an appraisal fee. Sometimes, the bank will send out their appraisal. A lot of times you'll be fronting the bill on that. That's a few $100s. But again, they want to know what they're getting into as well because they're the ones that are lending you the money. So they're gonna praise it because if you go buy something that's worth, doesn't matter, you name the price, 500,000, $1 million, that's great that you paid that price. They want to praise it and say it's not worth that, or it is worth that, so we'll lend you this much. Now, if it's not worth that, they'll say, well, it's not worth that. Now you got to come up with the remaining money to close on this property. So again, just because they'll praise it and they praise it under, that doesn't mean that you can't purchase the place. It just means this is what they'll lend you on the place, and now you have to come up with the rest. So that's another one. So that's kind of your main ones. There if you're looking at new builds, right? Then we get into the GST. That's pre-sales, but that's a whole nother thing, and GST isn't a big added expense. So it's a tough one right now. It's a tough one right now for people to get into. But that's your pre-sales. We're gonna have I got a whole another video coming up on the pre-sale market versus resale market, and it's interesting because the times we're in right now, it's kind of unprecedented. Before, it was kind of like just another really good option to get into the market. But anyways, check out that video as well. Being a first-time home buyer is very exciting, and you want the 90% of the time you're just focused on what can we afford based on the price tag of a place. And then you sort of say, okay, you sort of get the mortgage calculator out. You're looking at maybe a 25-year amortization, and you start breaking down the numbers with the current interest rate and so on and so forth. But this is just kind of giving you an additional breakdown of cost to expect with your monthly payment. So add those into your equation, and then you're going to be better equipped to realize maybe what we can afford. Because even though you can afford it, the bank's going to lend you this money. What are you comfortable with at the end of the day? What can you afford at the end of the day and still be living, relatively comfortable where you can go do a few other things and not just strictly paying for all these additional fees that you really were unaware of or really just didn't sit down and take the time to do the math on these things. So drop in the comments what you guys think, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to get a discovery call with me and talk some strategy, I'm always available. The links are down in the description to my calendar. So book a call in. I'd love to chat. Like I said, I love working with first-time home buyers. I just think it's a great, huge next step for a person to becoming a homeowner. So guys, make sure you go down and comment on the videos as well. It really helps out. I love interacting with people as well. So drop the comments, see what you think. If I miss anything, let me know. Until the next time, guys, my name is Ryan McMillan with EXP. I'll see you guys in the next one.